Good morning. Welcome to the Things Off Morning with the national champion in collegiate men's rowing. The Varsity Challenge Cup is on the line. You can see the Huskies from University of Washington back.
In lane 4-5, Harvard.
What time do we have?
Lane 6, Cal. And lane 7, Princeton.
All right, so there was California with a practice start, Harvard as well. Last couple strokes here before all of these crews are ready. So we're waiting for the start here. The crews are going to come back to the starting platform, get relocked on, get their alignment, get positioned, and wait for the call from our U.S. rowing referees and officials here. So you can see it's a little windy, but nothing that these crews have not seen before on their home waters. So last year's champion, the 2017 Varsity Challenge Cup champion,
Cal is there.
Home at Lake Natoma last year. And it was an epic race with Yale holding off a hard-charging Washington at the finish line to avoid a sweep by the Washington heavyweight men. So a great race from Yale last year. We're going to see, can they do it again? Can they pull the repeat and come away with the 2018 Varsity Challenge Cup? So we're still working on these crews spinning around, headed back to the platform, getting locked on. Challenging conditions for coxswains and crews today. A little bit breezy, but as we know, they're all ready. It's an outdoor sport. You're ready to race in anything.
So, Steve, a little bit of an East versus West competition here between Washington and Yale. Yale, as you said, is the defending champion, and they are looking to defend the title and return the Varsity Challenge Cup to its current home in the Gilder Boathouse. Washington comes in with the top seed, though, so should be some excellent racing, I think, for sure, in lanes 2 and 3 with Washington and Yale sitting right next to each other. I think Brown had a pretty good semifinal, too. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, Brown, fantastic semifinal, getting that second spot in the semi ahead of California, and not to wait out any of these other crews. So Harvard, California, and Princeton on the 3 lanes closest to the shoreline. And those 3 crews, Princeton and Hart and Brown, in a epic race for that silver and bronze position at the Eastern Sprints this year. And California has been trying all year to best Washington. So we have a very tightly packed field. Should be excellent racing this morning.
Princeton's not here. That's why everybody's waiting. Princeton's like missing. We haven't seen Princeton. Nobody's seen Princeton yet.
All right, so we're waiting Princeton up at the start line here. You can see Yale getting repositioned here, spinning the boat around, taking it into their lane number 3. Washington out there a little bit further in the white. So as we look at the field, as the drone shot is up on the left-hand side of your screen, we'll see Washington moving over towards Yale, then Brown, Harvard, California, and Princeton in lane number 7, the lane closest to the beach and the shoreline. The right-hand side when we have the drone view.
Well, how late are they? Even if that's 2 p.m. No, I'm like, they said they're going to wait until they show up. So, well, yeah.
All right, so the Huskies were your Pac-12 champions this season, undefeated on the season in the Varsity 8. Coach Michael Callahan looking to take his Huskies for that 2018 Varsity Challenge Cup. the Eastern Sprints champions from Yale and our 2017 IRA champs in lane 3 next to them, led by some seniors in that crew, a very strong physical crew from Yale. Brown has been rising all season, especially through this championship portion of the season. A good performance from Brown at the Eastern Sprints, an excellent semifinal. So we're expecting a great race from Bruno. Harvard there in lane 5, second at Eastern Sprints, really pressing hard in that last 500 meters with an excellent sprint from the oarsman in crimson. California, your second place team from the Pac-12 championship, Coach Mike Tatey in his final year at the University of California before taking over the U.S. men's national team again. And Princeton there in lane 7, backing into the starting platform now. The Tigers from just up the road in Princeton, backing into lane number 7 here. 4th at sprints, but just a tick off of Brown and Harvard there and out of the medals, but performing well here at the 2018 IRA National Championships. So Princeton is now locked on, peeling off a few layers. We're just going to wait for all crews to get aligned. And the final call on the race start for the 2018 Varsity Challenge Cup.
Princeton's out of the picture right now.
And from left to right now, up at the start, on the left side of the screen, we see Washington in lane 2, then Yale, Brown, Harvard, Cal with Princeton just out of the screen. And now a zoomed up view of Princeton sitting ready at the catch. So a little bit of wind up at the start. We see a few hands raised as the coxswains gain their point. Awaiting the start any minute now.
So what we're looking for from the start from all these crews is really in these conditions being clean around the finish, matching at the catch, applying power together in a little bit of chop. It's something they've all practiced, something they've all been doing all season. Some challenging conditions along the way for every single one of these crews. Washington raced in an incredible windy condition race very early in the season at Lake Las Vegas against Dartmouth, handled the conditions well there. Similar headwind conditions here today. So we're a few minutes behind on our start time for the first race of the day. Official time 7:36 right now, but we are eagerly awaiting about 6 minutes behind start on this first race of the day. You can see are in position to take a little bit of work all day from all these crews and coxswains to get aligned, to stay locked onto the stake boats. That's a challenge sometimes, to keep your stern right there in the hands of the stake boat holder. You can see the Washington crew just sculling up around a little bit, back and forth. 2-man touching it just a touch over, getting their point, making sure they are each straight down the buoy lines.
And awaiting the start any moment. Again, Washington coming in with the top seed. And right next to them in lane 3, Yale with the second seed. Of this bunch, Washington posted the fastest time yesterday in semi number 1. Yale with the second fastest time to win semi number 2. And it looks like now they're sitting ready up at the catch.
Look at this. Launch this.
So should have a start here any moment. And we see the Washington crew now from the Jumbotron sitting in lane 2. Wow. And we have a start. This is the start of the men's Varsity 8 Grand Final with Washington, Yale, Brown, Harvard, Cal, and Princeton. Some challenging conditions, but it's looking pretty good, Steve.
Yeah, so we got a nice quick shot there. It looks like Yale being the aggressor off the start. Yale there on the left-hand side of your screen. Washington is off the screen on the drone shot. There's Yale on the left-hand side. Yale leading right now up ahead of Brown, Harvard, and California. Princeton and Washington are just out of the shot. You can see Princeton in lane 7, just off of about 6 seat, 7 seat of California right now. But Yale in the lead. A lot of aggression there from the Bulldogs. Brad, let's go out to you.
And it's Yale and California out front now. Just 400 meters, 300 meters into the race. It is Yale with 3 seats over the Huskies, but only a seat or so behind is California. Then Harvard is in 4th, probably Princeton 5, and Bruno 6, but just very close. Right now, it's Yale trying to get away. At going into the 500 meters, Yale has 3 seats on the Huskies, and the Huskies have 1 or 2 seats on Cal. Harvard, about 4 seats, 5 seats down off of Cal. Princeton, 1 seat up on Brown. Yale, looking strong, got an early lead, a couple of seats right off the start, and they're rowing 36, just like they did yesterday, a long and powerful rhythm into this headwind. Washington trying to even it up at 38-39, trying to get back at Yale. California right in it as well on the far side in lane 6. But Yale has 7 seats on Cal, and they have only 6 seats on Washington. So can these Cal and Washington bring it back and try and stay with this aggressive Yale crew from New Haven? Harvard making a push. Princeton coming up now. Princeton coming up into 3rd, or 4th, I should say 4th, a seat up on Harvard. Harvard still 2 or 3 seats up on Brown. Steady as she goes for the Yale crew. Very aggressive, very strong and powerful. Let's get a rating check here. 36.5. That seems to be their sweet spot as they go through the 1,000 first with 7 seats on Washington. Washington, 5 seats up on Cal. Cal, 4 seats up on Princeton. Princeton, 2 seats up on Harvard. Harvard, 3 seats up on Brown. Can Yale repeat as the national champion? It certainly looks like they're in control in the middle of the 3rd 500. It's going to be tough for the Huskies to reel them back in. Huskies now pulling away from Cal. 6 seats up on Cal, but no motion here, no change between Cal and Washington. Cal Stroke just took a bobble to stroke man, but he recovered nicely, and they're just thumping on it. Washington now really trying hard, and they're almost a length up on Cal. Cal still a length, almost a length up on Harvard and Princeton. Brown come back a little bit, but still in 6th. The Husky bow on the 5 seat or seat of Yale is as close as they've gotten in the middle 1,000. Yale has plenty of room to go up. Solid rowing, solid rowing. Washington just a little bit rushed, trying to catch up, just rowing a bit higher to make up that difference. Up at 38.5 to Cal's 36.5. Washington is coming back, and the water is improving. So maybe we can see a finish like last year where Washington just comes that short of victory. But Cal is now trying to take the rating up. We'll switch it over to the tower with Cal in control. Washington second, Cal third.
Thank you, Fred. A thrilling final 500 meters here with Yale in control, Washington running second. A nice push from Washington at the 500, but it looks like Yale had a little bit of an answer. Steve, what do you think?
Well, Yale certainly responded well. There's a couple seniors in there who are really driving that crew, a strong, powerful group. Paul Jaquat, Shalto Carnegie, two of the guys that have been in that Yale Varsity 8. They're all 4 years for Yale in the varsity, and to come away here, and it's looking like Yale going back-to-back for the IRA Varsity Challenge Cup. So Yale with a full length almost on Washington. Washington still way up ahead of California. California with Harvard and Princeton just behind them. We have Yale coming to the line now. Yale looking very strong, staying controlled, responding to anything Washington can do. Here comes Yale for the national championship. Yale University through the line. Yale, your 2018 Varsity Challenge national champions. The Huskies overlapping for silver, and California in bronze. Harvard and Princeton very close with Brown in sixth. Excellent race by Yale, controlling that from the start, jumping out quickly in Washington. Washington responding, trying to press back throughout that run. California drawing away from the three other Ivy League crews in that solid bronze medal position. But a great race from Yale. Excellent work by Coach Steve Gladstone, winning another Varsity Challenge Cup. Congratulations, Yale University, Coach Steve Gladstone, and all of the Bulldogs.
And back up at the start, it's the men's varsity lightweight 8 grand final.
Just to
as you indicated. So Columbia, like Yale in the previous race, has jumped out to about a 3-seat lead, and Princeton and Yale are right with them. Then it would be Navy a couple seats up on Harvard and Penn. Harvard and Penn running bow ball to bow ball. Columbia trying to extend their lead, with the Tigers being right tenaciously beside them, not letting them go. Let's get a rating check here. 37 for Columbia, and the Tigers at 36. This headwind condition slowing the ratings down a bit as Columbia and Princeton start to pull away, but the rest of the field evening up. Navy, Yale, Penn, and Harvard. Now Harvard's coming up. Harvard has made a big push just after the 500, and they're overlapping now with Columbia's Stern. So they're a solid third now is Harvard. Princeton trying to work their way back on Columbia, has come back. Princeton is moving on Columbia. Harvard has come up. Harvard bow on Columbia stroke. Princeton bow on Columbia 4. .35.5. These guys are pushing the legs down, trying to open up and pry. The water does improve in the second 1,000. So we'll see what these crews do, if they can take the rating up a little earlier, having to be a little more conservative on the rate in the early going. Princeton is like glue right here on Columbia. They are not letting them slip. Harvard also has come up. Now Navy has made a good push. Navy in 4th. Ahead of Pennsylvania by a seat or two. Yale in 6th. The Lions still out front. Nothing changed here on the margin. The Lions 35.5, still steady as she goes. Tigers maybe a little bit higher. Harvard starting to push again, trying to get back into this race for silver medal right now. Columbia still looks very comfortable in front. Kind of like they can take a move and press right here. And I think that's what Columbia is doing right here, is they're taking a press, and I think they're getting a seat on the Tigers. 37, so Columbia went up to 37, and they got a seat. Right now, it's Columbia with a half a length over Princeton. Princeton, about a third of a length over Harvard. And I'll switch it over to the tower.
Thank you, Fred. Now moving through into the final 500 meters, it's the men's varsity lightweight 8 grand final. And as you rightly say, Columbia now leading with Princeton second and Harvard running third. But I started to see, I think, a nice push from Princeton at about 400 meters to go. So keeping an eye absolutely on Columbia and Princeton, with Harvard not to be left out. Now moving into the last 250, it's Columbia, Steve.
Yeah, Columbia looking great here throughout the race. They had a little bump at the start, but recovered well, moved through that middle 1,000, just held off Princeton. So we've got there on the drone picture, Columbia in the lead, Princeton just off to the right-hand side as you look at the drone picture. But Princeton is really charging right now with 250 meters to go or so. Princeton charging on Columbia. Columbia doing everything they can to them off. Those 2018 East Princeton want to come and take home the national championship in lightweight rowing. Let's see if they can do it. Here comes Lions. Columbia really moving well here through the line, and it's going to be Columbia with Princeton just behind them. Just Princeton maybe just over a deck off of Columbia. A great push by Princeton. Harvard in clear bronze medal position. Pennsylvania overlapping with Harvard, and the Naval Academy running in 5th place with Yale in 6th here. So great race. Columbia, an excellent work. Columbia coming away as your national champions in lightweight men's rowing this year. Great race from Columbia. Princeton challenging the whole way down the course. Princeton just attacking, and then really turning it on in that last 400 meters or so as they started to creep up and almost catching Columbia. So great race in our lightweight men's national championship. So 2 epic races so far. We're going to head up to the start and see another grand final for a national championship.
And back up at the start, it's the women's varsity lightweight 8 grand final. In lane 1, Stanford. Or lane 2, Boston University. 7 voters. Lane 3, Princeton. Lane 4, Georgetown. Lane 5, Wisconsin. Lane 6, MIT. And lane 7, Radcliffe. Stanford is the 3-time defending champion in the lightweight varsity 8. And Stanford, under the direction of second-year head coach Kate Burko, looking for their 4th consecutive title. But for now, we have a start. And it's Stanford and Boston aggressive out of the line, with Princeton and Georgetown hanging right with them. So we can see on the left-hand side of the screen a really nice push from Stanford, Boston, Princeton, and Georgetown hanging right with them in these first 250 meters, but aggressive start from Stanford. It looks like they hold the lead by just a bit, Steve.
Yeah, Stanford quick out of the blocks, really trying to move well. It looks like we've got good the conditions getting better as you get to the course, as we saw in the lightweight men's 8. But right now it's still a little choppy at the top end of the lake. But Stanford with the lead, just maybe taking a few seats off of Boston University. Princeton running nearly level with BU. Georgetown just back of them. And then it's open water back to Wisconsin, MIT, and Radcliffe. So we got a 4-boat race for those 3 medal spots right now. Stanford, Boston, Princeton, and Georgetown. Let's go ahead and see. Fred, can you tell us how it looks out there?
Absolutely. The crews are handling the conditions quite well. In fact, I would say it's calmed down a little bit. Stanford is in a good fight here with BU and Princeton and Georgetown. Those four crews have separated now from the other three within MIT and Radcliffe. So as we get a closer look, Stanford has about 2 or 3 seats on BU. BU has bow ball on the Tigers, and the Tigers have maybe a seat on Georgetown. But Stanford's on the move. Stanford is starting to pull out on the rest of the field here. Get a rating check here. 36 for Stanford, as they've got a third of a length now on BU. BU has a seat on Princeton. Princeton now has 2 seats on the Hoyas. That Stanford stroke has her head down, looking at the bottom of the boat, and as she is pulling hard and setting a hard pace. Now Princeton is taking a move. Princeton is trying to get up and has taken a seat away from BU. So clearly they took a power move there, power shift. But Stanford still has 5 seats. We'll get another look here as these 4 crews now have open water on Wisco, MIT, and Radcliffe. Yeah, the Tigers are trying hard now to reel it back in. Stanford's liking this lead, though. They're leaning on it and swinging into the bow as they should in this headwind. You want a long stroke, long at the catch, long at the finish. Now BU has gotten back even with Princeton, and the Hoyers are about a third of a length back of those 2. I can hear the Stanford coxswain cheering the kids on in her boat, and they now have 5 seats on BU. BU has a seat on the Tigers as we go through the 1,000-meter mark. Halfway, Stanford just seems to have a little bit more run each stroke as they're starting to pull out. Very tight now between BU and Princeton, but BU up 2 seats on the Tigers now. .36 for Stanford. 36 for BU. Now Princeton taking another push to try and get back ahead of BU. The Hoyas now 5 seats back of Princeton. Tough conditions for these lightweight women. Middle of the third 500. We've got coxswain on bow of Boston University for Stanford. The Cardinal coxswain on the bow of the BU shell. Princeton now slipping back another seat as BU stays with Stanford. Hoyas come up. That's the question. Can the Hoyas come up and challenge the Tigers for that bronze medal spot? These boats are running about the same margin as they were at the 1,000. Stanford maybe got another seat in the third 500, and now it's just stretched out a little bit more. BU has gotten a little bit more on Princeton, and Princeton's gotten a little more on the Hoyas. 500 meters to go. Stanford coxswain keeping an eye on that bow of BU. BU now 5 seats on the Tigers. As they head into the final 400 meters, I'll toss it to the tower with Stanford solidly in control. BU second, Princeton third.
All right, so it's a tight race with BU has not lost overlap with Stanford the whole way down the course. They've been challenging. You see that bow ball in the picture here. The boat on the lower part is Stanford. Next one up is Boston University. So BU with their bow ball on Stanford's coxswain, they are going to run out of room if they don't attack it now. But Boston University really going after Stanford here, seeing what they can do. Princeton in that third spot, and Georgetown in fourth.
And now coming into the final stretch of this race in the final 250 meters, it does look to be Stanford, the defending national champion, right now chasing their fourth consecutive title with just about one length over Boston University, who runs second, and Princeton University now running third. Cruising in now to the last 100 meters or so, it is Stanford with an open water lead over Boston running second in these final crucial 20 strokes or so. It's Stanford for first, it's Boston in second, and it's Princeton in third. Stanford now with an open water lead coming into these final few strokes for the Varsity Grand Final, where we will crown a national champion, and that is Stanford, the Cardinal of Stanford, for the 2018 IRA champion. Boston comes in now for silver through the line, followed by the Princeton Tigers to take bronze. And Georgetown now coming through for fourth. Radcliffe and their final strokes for fifth. And it's MIT over Wisconsin now to come in for sixth, followed by Wisconsin for seventh. So a big congratulations to the Cardinal of Stanford taking their fourth consecutive title at the IRA National Championship.
All right, and we are underway, catching back up to racing here. We have the men's second varsity national championship race, the Kennedy Cup. Yale is on the left-hand side of your screen, lane 2, the furthest from the shore. Yale, then California, Washington, Harvard, Princeton, and Northeastern. A pretty tightly packed field, but it looks like the two from out west, California and Washington, on the lead early here. So California, Washington maybe just slightly up on Cal. Both boats attacking. California taking Washington in the semifinal. Washington's first loss on the season in the 2V, but Washington just ahead of California, who's ahead of Yale, Harvard, Princeton, and Northeastern in the lane closest to the shore.
And an aggressive start in the first 250 from Washington. We see from the drone shot, they're edging California just by a bit. In 2017, the finished placements were Washington, Cal, and Princeton. And right now at the 2018 IRA, it is Washington lead. But Fred, let us know what you can see from the water.
All right, we're a little bit shy of the 1,000-meter mark, so we're going to have to wait just a bit to get exact margins. So if you want to keep going with the commentary, bring it up to me.
All right, so we are up above, high above on the lake here. Washington with that lead. Washington does not want to let California back into this thing. Washington out on the lead, stretching. Coxon on the bow seat now. He's looking to take that foul ball here pretty soon, but the Huskies are really moving well. California searching up for that foul ball on the Yale crew. Yale with a little bit more than a length here on Harvard, Princeton, and Northeastern. But there go the Huskies out in the lead right now, and we're going to stay with it here from the drone pictures. Here we're picking up the launch now, and you can see from the launch, looks like Washington on the lead. California running second here. Washington up in front, controlling this race. A good, aggressive start, and then they pounded that second 500 meters to take the lead here in the Kennedy Cup second varsity grand final. So there's Washington. California still overlapping right behind them. Cal responding well here to not let Washington go and really challenge the Huskies in the second 1,000 meters. Fred, it looks like you got a picture now. Let's go out to you.
Yeah, we're all set now. Washington has about 5 or 6 seats on Cal. They're rowing about 36, 37 into this wind. I got a lot of experience in that boat. Some of the guys in there were in the varsity for Washington last year, so I expected Washington to be quite strong. But California is not going away. Washington's having a little trouble with the conditions, and I think Cal's come back on them a little bit. Yale is in third, but a full length behind Cal. So Washington and Cal way out on the field. Yale in third, and they've got open water to Harvard, Princeton, and Northeastern. So we'll swing the camera back to the leaders and just keep an eye on these margins here. Washington, powerful, and got that early lead, and Cal's doing everything they can to come back into them. In the semi yesterday, Cal went out really hard and rode 40 down this course, but naturally today with this headwind, that's not going to be possible. These headwinds slow things down and make it a little bit more challenging. Rowing, you got to row a little bit lower rate. Washington maintaining that half-length lead over California. Quarter-length open back is Yale, and then way back, another half a length open is Harvard, Princeton, and Northeastern that look like they're locked in a dead heat for 4, 5, and 6. A bit of a strong gust here as we approach 500 to go. I think Cal is definitely coming up on Washington right now. Cal has closed it to about a third of a length on the Huskies. So let's see if they can gut it out and challenge the Huskies, or if the Huskies have a gear and they can go up and be a little bit slicker. Plenty of rough water on Lake Washington. You would think they're ready to row in any conditions. This is going to be close, folks. Don't let your eyes go away from the finish line here. The Huskies, I think, are just hanging on to a lead here, avoiding the California overlapping them. Go over to the tower for a better view.
All right, so Washington holding off that hard-charging California crew, the two Pac-12 rivals, opener out front of Yale. Yale with a big gap back to the rest of the field. So it is Washington and California fighting in the lead, with Yale running in a solid place position, Harvard, Princeton, and Northeastern trailing. But Washington has to be ready for this attack from California here. California ready to ramp up the rate and charge after the Huskies. But right now, we've got Washington looking very strong out in front, pushing into this headwind, folks. We've seen 4 times today, but it allows the athletes to really pry on it, press themselves into this headwind. But the Huskies are swinging it along nice and strong here. Cox and Kimmons-Wilson taking a look over at the Cal Bears. She wants her Huskies to give a little bit more to press away from their Pac-12 rivals. Sticking right with the Huskies, not letting them really creep away here too much in the last 500 meters. Yale running in that solid bronze medal position. It's looking like the Huskies here. The Huskies take their first win of the day. California in second. And here comes Yale in that bronze position, with Yale opening up past all of their Eastern Sprints rivals here. And it's Harvard attacking, Northeastern attacking, very close for that 4th position. And Princeton in 6th. Northeastern with a very strong push there in the finish. And we're going to have to see if they possibly caught Harvard there for 4th place. But that's the Huskies, the Kennedy Cup, taking it home. The University of Washington Huskies in the 2nd Varsity 8 Grand Final. And we're back up on the lake here. We're back to the screen. We're up to our next race, the Men's Varsity 8 Grand Final. The Men's 3v8 Grand Final. And we're picking them up a ways into the race. We didn't get to the start to catch the finish of that 2v race. But it looks like another race where Washington is really taking control of this. So Washington up on Harvard, and it looks like over in the outer lanes here, California is in the 3rd spot, with Yale just behind them, BU and Northeastern trailing. The Huskies look to have got an early jump. You can see from the picture from the drone a little bit more wave action here in that top 1,000 meters of the race course.
And a nice push from Cal, I'd say. Definitely keeping an eye on Washington on the left side of the screen, but Cal getting work done on the far side over in lane 6. So it's Washington, Cal, Yale not to be left out, then Harvard, Boston, Northeastern, Washington, and Cal. I think this will look to be another Pac-12 duel in this men's 3rd Varsity 8 Grand Final. It's Washington, Cal, and a nice race happening on the far side between Cal and Yale.
Yeah, and it's like Harvard right in there as well. So Washington, your clear leader, but it's Harvard, California, and Yale almost too tight to call here. From the drone picture, it's really tight between those 3. Washington really stomping on it here in the men's 3rd Varsity 8. Fred, let's go ahead out to you.
All right, at the 1,000-meter mark, it's the Washington Huskies, but the conditions have suddenly gotten bumpy again. The Huskies don't have a big lead at this point, maybe a third of a length, 3 or 4 seats up on Yale now. Yale in second, a seat up on California. Harvard making a big press here, so they're in fourth. Boston University in fifth, about 8 seats up on Northeastern. Now the Huskies have 5 or 6 seats, so the Huskies stroke on Harvard now. Harvard's taken over second place, so these leads are changing very quickly. If a crew has a bad stroke, they can bobble and lose a seat or two. Washington now 7 or 8 seats up on Harvard. Harvard had a really good training cycle before the IRA, had a good semi, is pressing now, and they're a half a length on California, a seat or so up on Yale. Then it's open water back to BU and NU. Washington 3V handling the conditions pretty well here, but Harvard really aggressively attacking them, making them pay for every stroke. Then it's almost a full length back to Cal, which has got the best of Yale right now. Cal's got 2 or 3 seats up on Yale. Coming up to the 500-meter mark to go, it's Harvard still pressing really hard and rowing pretty well. Clean blade work from Harvard is paying off as they are able to stay right with Washington. In fact, I think they moved up deck on Washington. So let's see who's got a sprint here. It's going to come down to the last 60 strokes right here.
Thanks, Fred. And
take
coming
the rating
through
up.
the 500 meters to go, it's the men's third Varsity 8 grand final. And as you rightly say, Washington in complete control over this race with Harvard running second. Harvard doing a nice job right now, really outperforming their seed. They came into this event seeded 5th and right now running second to Washington, Steve.
Yeah, Harvard really performing well here at the IRA National Championships. They've shuffled that lineup after the Eastern sprints, moved a couple guys around. Dominic Glover, Australian stroke seat senior, doing an excellent job leading this crew with another senior. Cambridge, Varsity. Well, the Huskies on the lead. The Huskies looking very strong with Harvard really giving them the only test right now. But there's the Huskies from the drone. You can see the right-hand boat. The boat on our right-hand side is the University of Washington. Harvard next over from them. So there's Washington. And then Harvard, just Washington may be cracking open water here in the Stewards Cup men's third Varsity 8 grand final. The Huskies with bow to stern on Harvard here. So the Stewards Cup awarded to the third Varsity 8 winner. Used to be the Freshman 8 trophy. Now with no more Freshman 8 race, the third Varsity gets to claim the Stewards Cup. So it's the Huskies with the lead right now. Huskies are really pressing for the line, swinging into this headwind. Washington over the line first, just over a length over Harvard. And here comes California, the Golden Bears in that bronze medal position. And Yale just overlapping with California. Boston University in 5th. And here come the Huskies from Northeastern in 6th. So University of Washington coming away with a second gold medal on the day. Winners in the second Varsity 8 for the Kennedy Cup and winners in the third Varsity for the Stewards Cup. So we're going to move quickly back up to the start. Those were the grand finals. We'll have another grand final later for the Varsity 4s, as in heavyweight, lightweight, and the women's lightweight double as well. You can see at the start line, things are a little bumpier. We're going to keep racing because this is the national championships for 2018. We're moving into the petite final for the men's Varsity 8.
And back up at the start, the men's Varsity 8 petite final in lane 2, Syracuse. Lane 3, Northeastern. Lane 4, Dartmouth. Lane 5, Wisconsin. And Stanford, lane 6, Boston, lane 7. And we have a start, again, with pretty challenging conditions up at the start. It looks to be clean across the board right now. Quick starts from Northeastern University, from Dartmouth, from Wisconsin. In fact, it's pretty tightly packed at the moment, with Syracuse perhaps falling a little bit off the pace, but keeping an eye on the Northeastern Huskies, a very aggressive start out of the blocks, and it looks like they may be our leader at the moment, Steve.
Yeah, so this is for places 7 through 13. Northeastern, nice and aggressive. You got to like that start. If you're one of the Northeastern Husky coaches, it's a good move from Northeastern, taking seats from Syracuse and Dartmouth. Dartmouth maybe with just an edge over Syracuse to begin the race here. Wisconsin, Stanford, and Boston University trailing. But at Northeastern attacking this headwind, putting the bodies into it. You can see that as we moved up the start there, you can see how much the boats were bouncing around as they were in the starting platform. It's choppy. It's challenging. These guys have seen it on the Charles. They know how to handle it. So Northeastern, excellent work in the headwind here. You can see the waves moving through the race course. It's a challenge, but nothing all these crews haven't been in before. So Northeastern on the lead, Syracuse and Dartmouth almost too close to call. Wisconsin clearly in fourth, ahead of Stanford. Stanford trying to challenge Wisconsin, with Boston University running in sixth. Fred, out to you.
Okay, some really bad strokes in the Northeastern shell right there. It's just, the wind is buffeting the crews around. It can happen, and I think that enabled Dartmouth to come up a little bit. So they lost a little bit of their margin. We'll get a closer look here, but they kind of had a back and forth port starboard bobble, which lost them a couple of seats. So still Northeastern leads by a good 3 or 4 seats. Then it's Dartmouth in second, and I want to say out to lane 6, it's going to be Stanford in third, Boston University in fourth, then Syracuse 5 and Wisco 6. Now Northeastern's gotten a little bit the rhythm back and pressing the handles down to clear the chop. Boston University doing a nice job pushing, trying to stay up with Stanford. So it's really tied for third, with Boston taking a big press here, getting their bow up. I would say Boston is in second place right now, at half a deck ahead of Stanford and Dartmouth. But, we're talking a half a deck. It's not much. The Huskies, I think, are rolling a smart rating here, pretty controlled. You just can't row too high in this slop. 36 strokes a minute. Now it looks like Dartmouth is taking a press, and Syracuse as well. Wow, very tight second. Very, very tight. Syracuse has come up now to take second, away from Boston and Dartmouth. Stanford has fallen off the pace, and Wisconsin and Stanford are 5-6. Yeah. Big, strong Syracuse crew now trying to make a press here to try and cut into the Huskies' lead. Dartmouth and Boston University, great rivals who've raced a couple of times this season, are running neck and neck. Let's see what Syracuse is doing here. 1, 2, 35 for Syracuse. Not much has changed here. Northeastern still your clear leader. 4 or 5 seats. I heard a scream from the Northeastern boat. Come on, boys, let's do this. Now Dartmouth is coming up and challenging right in the middle of the third 500 here. And they're trying to take second away from Syracuse. Boston University still in fourth, ahead of Stanford and Wisco. Wow, who can change it now? Who can change the gears? The gritty Dartmouth crew now is starting to pour it on. Dartmouth getting some bite. With 500 meters to go, it's tightening up. Is Northeastern going to be able to handle the pressure of Syracuse and Dartmouth closing? Boston University is back 4 or 5 seats now behind Dartmouth. And I'll switch it to the tower with a very tight race here, Colleen.
Thank you, Fred. An exciting race indeed right now for the men's Varsity 8 petite final with the Northeastern Huskies right now running first, and it's a race for second between Syracuse and Dartmouth in this petite final, which will determine places 7 through 12 in the country. Right now it's Northeastern, but keep an eye on Syracuse. A lot of aggressive racing coming from Syracuse, particularly in the second half of this race. Right now, as we can see from the drone, Syracuse in the bottom right, then Northeastern now we can see still leading, but Syracuse is on the charge. Dartmouth not to be left out. It's looking like it's Northeastern, Syracuse, and Dartmouth, Steve.
All right, so that Syracuse boat, Coxswain Dom Santora, really urging his young men on, trying to get them to attack that Northeastern lead. It's turning into a race for first here, not for second. It's Northeastern on the lead with Syracuse doing everything they can to catch the Huskies, and Dartmouth in that third position. But here comes the Huskies leading it, and they're approaching the line here. Northeastern with that lead, but Syracuse winding it high, pounding each stroke. Syracuse really attacking the line here, but Northeastern trying to hold them off. We are very, very tight race at the finish there. It looks, you can see the water just splashing off. Dartmouth coming in third. Boston University over Stanford and Wisconsin. It looks like Northeastern just held off Syracuse, but what a race those young men provided for us today. You can see the gusts of wind really pushing and splashing up the water. It's getting a little windier, but those crews did an excellent job of handling the conditions. Northeastern taking that lead, pressing out, and then Syracuse responding in the second half to kind of try to move back in, and then a great sprint from Syracuse to make that race. So we're back up to the start. We got Mercyhurst and Cornell here, a two-boat race, the only two-boat race of the day. This is the men's lightweight 8 petite final. Mercyhurst and Cornell. So Cornell, your last year's champions in the lightweight 8, looking for a win here in the petite 2018. So crossing through, it looked like about 500 meters in here. Mercyhurst with just a slight lead on Cornell. So Mercyhurst really getting the chance to run against some of the best lightweight programs in the country. Here comes Mercyhurst with about a deck or more on Cornell.
And interesting in this two-boat petite final, Steve, this is a bit of a dual racing strategy. So in dual racing, again, with just two boats, oftentimes you'll want to get out ahead and not look back, really just to have the advantage of seeing the crew behind you in that two-boat race with one other competitor. Right now, the boat that is leading and doing that best is Mercyhurst. So it's Mercyhurst with a little bit more of a push in this first 500. Now just closing into about 500 meters down, Mercyhurst leading Cornell by about a half a length.
All right, so Mercyhurst led by a familiar name in the rowing world, Adrian Spracklin. Should sound familiar to many with knowledge of world rowing. Mike Spracklin's son leading this crew from Mercyhurst into this headwind. You can see the chops picked up, but Mercyhurst hitting it very well here. The young men from Mercyhurst really pressing into this headwind. Cornell doing a nice job sticking with them. But as Colleen said, it's match racing here in this two-boat petite final. Fred, let's go out to the launch.
Okay, we'll pick them up right around just 1,000-meter mark here. And Mercyhurst is handling these conditions pretty well. 36 strokes a minute. But it's really a water fight. Some of these blades tapping some white caps. You got to make sure your grip is firm but not too tight. You don't want to lose your oar on the recovery. So Mercyhurst now stroke on bowman of Cornell. And they're rowing pretty well in these conditions. It's challenging right now. Certainly not a showstopper, but not a lot of fun. Cornell here is probably down at around 35. Yep, 34 and a half, 35. Mercyhurst is maybe a beat over them. But just tight posture in the Mercyhurst boat. Just trying to hang on and not make a mistake. In conditions like these, sometimes that can be the most important thing, is to row at like 98% and not make a mistake. Okay, Mercyhurst about to break open a length here. a full length on the Cornell Big Red. Once in a while, you'll see a partial digger. And that's the term when the blade gets partially stuck or dives to the bottom of the lake. It's just not smooth conditions, tougher to row in. But just a splash of open water now for Mercyhurst. Big gust of wind here with 500 meters to go. That was a guster of over 20 miles an hour, I imagine. And we'll get ready to flip it to the tower here as this is a match race and you can see clearly what's happening. And we'll try and get back for the start of the two junior varsity petite.
Thank you, Fred. We see now just approaching 500 meters to go. It is Mercyhurst and Cornell in the men's varsity lightweight 8 petite final, with Mercyhurst leading Cornell by just about a length, maybe even breaking into open water now with about 400 meters to go.
Well, Mercyhurst doing a nice job here ahead of Cornell, taking advantage of the lightning wind here as they get closer to the finish line. It looks like Mercyhurst trying to still move away. Cornell has to move now to attack this lead that Mercyhurst has established. Looks like a pretty good race with still some overlap here. In a two-boat race, things can get away from you a little bit, but Cornell not letting Mercyhurst get away, but Mercyhurst with a clear lead. They can take a look back at that crew from Cornell and watch the red in the corner of their eye and make sure that they neutralize any move that Cornell takes now. So a good start from Mercyhurst. They've maintained that lead all the way down the race course now. So here we come, Mercyhurst, the Lakers coming in to the line. We got about 250 meters or 200 meters to go here, but Mercyhurst staying on the lead here in front of Cornell. So Mercyhurst there in the white. You can see on the far side of the lake there, Cornell in the red. Mercyhurst, you got the Lakers coming in for a win and a 7th place overall finish here in the men's lightweight 8 varsity petite final. So Mercyhurst over Cornell in the petite final. So a pretty good race there. Mercyhurst really leaning into it all the way down the course into that strong headwind. We're getting gust conditions here. Makes things challenging for all these crews because sometimes these gusts will just come up and pick up the blade when you don't expect it. But they did a nice job controlling and staying in front there. We're up to the 2V Varsity 8 Petite Final now.
And up at the start in lane 2, we can see on the screen it's Brown. In lane 3, Dartmouth. Lane 4, Boston University. Lane 5, Syracuse. Lane 6, Cornell. Lane 7, Wisconsin. And the crews now gaining their points, again awaiting the start of the 8:19 a.m. race, the men's second varsity 8 petite final, which will determine places 7 through 12 in the country.
Well, the waves are rolling in as we get those close-up shots there of Dartmouth. You can see the bow being kind of swung a bit by the wave conditions up near the start line. But we have a start. It's time to get out clean, get out aggressive. Pressing the legs and rowing well is going to be the key in these later races here this morning. So Brown, Dartmouth, Boston University, Syracuse, Cornell, and Wisco. Races now, the remainder of the day. If this wind keeps building, things are going to take a little bit longer. The second petite level final was about 30 seconds slower than the grand final in the varsity 8. So things are lengthening out the course here. All these crews have great fitness established throughout a whole season of training. And it looks like right now we've got Dartmouth in the lead over Brown, Boston University, Syracuse, Cornell, and Wisconsin. You saw a big wave hit one of the riggers on the Wisconsin shell on the right-hand side of the screen. Really trying to control here in this headwind, but challenging conditions, but these guys are ready for it.
And Dartmouth now leading an aggressive start, Steve, from Dartmouth in the first 500 meters. So absolutely the first 250. Brown comes in with the top seed of this group with the seed, Dartmouth with the 8th seed, and right now Dartmouth asserting their dominance in this first stretch of the race. Dartmouth leading, looks to be Brown running in second with pretty tightly packed the rest of the field. Boston University keeping their bow ball in it. But Fred, let us know what you can see from the water.
Okay, we're right here now, and Dartmouth does have the lead. They've got about 3 seats on the field. Well, maybe 2.5 for Brown. Brown has a couple of seats over Boston, and then it's, just deck to deck. Wisconsin's back a little bit. It's definitely challenging conditions out here. Every once in a while you'll see a splash and a stutter. So it's kind of sloppy, and we'll see who handles the conditions best. That's really what it's going to come down to. Brown now is taking the lead from Dartmouth. So Brown has got a couple seats up on the green, and Boston University right in the hunt as well. Boston's bow is on the 2-man of Dartmouth. Then it's over to Syracuse and Cornell. Not much to separate them. Wisconsin a couple seats back of them. So it's really, you got to be skillful here today. You got to be skillful. You got to lay into the bow and not get stuck on the recovery. You got to put the handles down. Oh, bad stroke in the Dartmouth boat there. 2-man lost his oar for a second. Got it back. And that's sort of the way it's going to go. Brown now just being cautious, being careful. 3 or 4 seats up on Dartmouth. Boston University just a seat down on Dartmouth. Seat or 2. Syracuse trying to come up. As we approach the 1,000-meter mark, Brown is in control. Dartmouth a solid second. Boston University trying really hard to get into Dartmouth's face right here. And it's bobbly. It's sloppy. It's really challenging. And then it spreads out. It's Syracuse up a couple seats on the Big Red. More than that, 3 or 4 seats. Wisconsin at 3 or 4 seats back of the Big Red. So who can wind it up? Who can handle these conditions? It does look like it gets a little bit better in the next. But first 1,000 was really a sloppy, water fight. But Brown now is stretching it out to like 7 seats, 7 or 8 seats. Boston University right with Dartmouth, just a seat down. And Syracuse has come up dramatically. Syracuse now is challenging Boston University. Syracuse just a deck down on BU. Get some more ratings here. So we get a gust every now and then, but Brown's handling the conditions best. Brown is almost a length up on the field. 35 for Bruno. Boston University has come up on Dartmouth. Now there's just a half a deck down. So they're taking a press, but so is Syracuse. Syracuse is coming right with them. Wow, great race for second here. Really great race. All right, Boston is now taken over second place. Boston is on the move. Boston 2 seats up on Dartmouth now. And 3 seats up on Syracuse. But anything could change with a bad stroke here and there. 500 meters to go. It's all Brown. Up now. Dartmouth just reversed it. So Dartmouth is up on BU. So must have had a bad stroke in the BU boat. It's going to come down to the wire. So I'll turn it over to Colleen with a really great race for second.
Thank you, Fred. What an incredible race now coming down the line into the last 500. It's the men's second Varsity 8 petite final with Brown running first and a really nice push from Boston just before the 500 to go. Boston coming in seated third, so really outperforming their seed right now by staying ahead of Dartmouth. It's Brown for first, it's Boston for second, it's Dartmouth right on their heels, and Syracuse doing a great job over in lane in lane 5 as well, coming in with the 9th seed. So Brown now just shy, it looks, of an open water lead over the rest of the field. But the race for second is between Boston, Dartmouth, and not to be left out, Syracuse University. Looks like Boston University really gaining some speed here in the last 500. And it's Brown for the lead, keeping an eye on BU, Steve.
Yeah, Boston University taking off at that 500-meter mark. They really wanted to make sure that they took care of business there against Dartmouth and Syracuse. But Brown doing an excellent job handling the tough conditions. As we always see these crews from Brown University do, they row well. If it gets bad water, you know that Brown, you can trust them to continue to press the boat, get the catch in, and really apply leg pressure. And Brown is doing just that all the way down the race course. But here comes Boston University in that second place position. Syracuse giving them everything they can here. But it's Brown over the line first with Boston in second. Syracuse in third, just over the crew from Dartmouth. And here comes Wisconsin closest to the shore. The Badgers going in fifth. And Cornell in sixth. So tough conditions for all these boats. You can see a lot of bouncing around, the water just splashing off the blades. But the crews did a great job to get down that course cleanly. So Brown, as we saw, an excellent job of handling tough conditions here at the 2018 IRA. We are back up to the start. Men's third Varsity 8 petite final now. The men's third Varsity 8 petite final. We have in lane number 2, that's Dartmouth. Lane number 3, Princeton University. You can see the waves just splashing around out there. Wisconsin in lane 4. Syracuse in 5. Their upstate New York neighbors, Cornell in lane 6. And Brown out there in lane 7. So closest to the beach, Brown University. You can see waves just rolling along the shell. There was a great shot when we were up alongside Brown's second varsity there in the previous race. You could really see how big some of this chop is getting, and crews have to row well. The coxswains got to do a nice job sticking on their point, not letting the gust of wind take them out of their lane, crash them into either an opponent or the lane line buoys. But all these crews have rowed in this stuff before. At some point in the season, everybody's had to handle challenging conditions. So Brown and Cornell is next to them. Syracuse, Wisconsin, Princeton, and Dartmouth. Dartmouth and Princeton there in the favored lanes here. Princeton was your number 4 seed entering the IRA National Championship, and Dartmouth doing a nice job here, and they're the 8th seed. So Princeton looking to take this petite final and come away with a win here this morning at the 2018 IRAs. So you can see boats just bouncing around a little bit, but Dartmouth, Princeton, Wisconsin, Syracuse, Cornell, and Brown. So we're awaiting the start of this men's third Varsity 8 petite final.
And the crew's now sitting up at the catch. We should have a start any moment here. And looking across at all of programs in their home body of water, none of these crews are strangers to tough conditions. And the crew's now adjusting their points.
No, Brent, let's ground you for sure. This is just, it's not worth the risk for 3v8 petite final.
Hey.
And crew's now sitting ready. And we have a start. This is the start of the men's third Varsity 8 petite final with Dartmouth, Princeton, Wisconsin, Syracuse, Cornell, and Brown. As we've heard all along, conditions seem to be toughest up at the start, certainly in the first 1,000 meters. So really looking to push the handle down to get over those waves here. And it appears to be a strong start across all of these crews in the men's third Varsity 8 petite final. Right now, the camera locked on Dartmouth in lane 2. And Princeton in lane 3. Again, Princeton comes in seated 4th and Dartmouth seated 8th. So should be some great racing side by side from these two crews, Steve.
All right, so it's getting a little windy for the drone coverage here. So we're going to stick the start line camera and be zoomed out. You can see there's the Syracuse and Wisconsin crews out in the middle of the lake. You can see just a ton of water being splashed around here. So this is the view now from the launch. So closest to us here is Dartmouth, Princeton out there in the white, Wisconsin in red, Syracuse, Cornell, and Brown on the far side. So as they come by us here, we'll see Dartmouth is the lane closest to us. So Fred, challenging is an understatement.
That's exactly right. This is very, very challenging conditions. The crews sometimes almost coming to a crawl, I would say, and they're not stopping, but a crawl. And it's really going to come down to the skill of the crew just to avoid making a really big mistake. Princeton's up a couple seats on Dartmouth. Dartmouth has a full length up on Syracuse and out to the far side, Yale. Crews are really struggling. Wisconsin struggling here to keep headway, and Cornell back in 6th. So we'll give you the margins here, and we'll give you any exciting dates. Hopefully everyone is safe and can make it down the course here. Dartmouth now is closed on Princeton, and they're running up almost level, just a seat down. Then it's going to be Yale in 3rd. Yale's a half length up on Syracuse. Syracuse has got 8 seats up on Wisco, and Wisco has a length on Cornell. Now Princeton's got another couple seats on Dartmouth. Really gusty, that's the problem. We got some real serious gusts and some real rolling choppers all the way down. This is going to be very challenging for anything bigger or smaller than an 8. Princeton now, 3 seats up on the big green. Yale's got a length on Syracuse. Syracuse, 7 seats still up on Wisconsin. Wisconsin's come up a little bit. They had some real trouble earlier, but I think the kids are figuring it out. And then Cornell trailing. The Tigers don't typically get this kind of headwind on Carnegie, but over here at Mercer, it's a different story. Okay, halfway. I wish I had a watch on this race to tell you what this is. This is probably going to be about a 6-minute and 45-second race. Now it's 6 seats for the Tigers. The crews are really stretching out now. Open water back to Yale. But Princeton here, dealing with the conditions the best. And I'll see if they're rowing 33-34. Will be my guess, and that's pretty aggressive for these conditions. 33 for Princeton. It's a slugfest. No way to describe it. 32 for Dartmouth. So they've got a length of open on Yale, and it's close to being just survival. That first 1,200 meters is really, really bad. Now it's smoothing out a bit. They should be able to show a little bit more. Tigers have almost a length on Dartmouth. Kids are having fun, though. They're racing. And they want to see where they finish up. The Tigers, gritting their teeth, have a full length up on Dartmouth now. We'll do a pan to the back, and then we'll go to the tower. So let's pan to the back, and it's Yale in 3rd. Syracuse in 4th. Wisconsin 5th. And Cornell in 6th. So, Colleen, any observations from the tower?
And coming in the last 500 meters. Thanks, Fred. Observations, well, the water does look to be a little bit better in the second half of the race, certainly better than what we saw from the start. But as you rightly say, it is a test of who can handle these conditions as we come in to the last 400 or so meters of this race. And right now, that crew is Princeton, followed by Dartmouth running second. Now close in with just shy of 250 meters to go. Syracuse and Brown for that third place position. But Princeton holding first as we come into the red buoy zone and the last 250 in the men's third Varsity 8 petite final.
So Penn had a good showing here at Eastern Sprints a few weeks back. They're probably not as happy to be in the petite final, but they're taking advantage of winning this race, doing an excellent job rowing out front, handling the conditions the best of this field. Open water ahead of Dartmouth. Dartmouth up ahead of Syracuse and Brown, with Wisconsin and Cornell, the trailing two crews. But Princeton just leaning it through the line now as they approach these last 10 to 15 strokes here into the headwind. You can see the big bodies of the Princeton crew just swinging, pressing into that bow, pressing into that headwind. Open water by, I'd say, almost a length of open water ahead of Dartmouth here. So Princeton's over the line, winners in the petite final of the third Varsity 8. The green from Dartmouth coming in second for that 8th place overall finish. Brown clearly ahead of Syracuse now as they get to the line. So Brown University in third for 9th overall. And Syracuse now hitting the line. The orange from Syracuse, a length of open ahead of the Badgers from Wisconsin. You can see the blades as they touch any of these little choppy waves. A lot of water coming up off of them. And here comes Cornell to wrap up this petite final of the third Varsity 8. So Cornell crossing the line, over the line in 13th overall position. So we will head back up to the start. We're moving for a men's Varsity 8 race coming up next. So the top guys in the men's third final. So the men's Varsity 8 third level final, Pennsylvania, Cornell, Navy, George Washington, St. Joe's, and Florida Institute of Technology. And it's a challenging day out here on Mercer Lake, but all these crews doing a pretty good job of handling it. You can see we haven't had any major issues with any crews, no significant crabs, a couple of bobbles every now and then where matching doesn't key up right for the certain crews. But lane number 2 here on the left-hand side of the screen is the University of Pennsylvania. Cornell in lane 3 in the red. Naval Academy next to them in lane 4. George Washington from Washington, D.C. in lane 5. The crew from Philadelphia, St. Joseph's. Second place finishers at the Dad Vale, and Florida Institute of Technology coming from the SIRA Championships, the Southern Intercollegiate Rowing Association. So we have a 6-boat third level final for the men's Varsity 8s.
And we can see in the camera shot now in lane 2, Pennsylvania for the men's Varsity 8 third level final. Penn finished 10th overall at the Eastern Sprints.
No, we did.
Oh, we did that?
And we see Pennsylvania now gaining their point here. And back up to the start with a bit of that chop.
Yeah, I think you're about right.
And we see the camera now on Cornell in lane 3.
So we're on a restart for this men's Varsity 8 third level final. They just made a couple of strokes off of an initial start, brought the crews back to the starting platform. You can see one launch out in the lanes right now. So obviously with a launch in the lanes here, not going to be starting the race. You can see the Naval Academy guys sculling the bow around, getting established, getting their point taking their point down the lane line again. It looks like we got some sort of issue on the race course right now. There's a U.S. rowing referee launch there. So the crews are sitting, trying to handle the little bit of bounce as well as they can and wait for the start here. So the launch is up just ahead of the crews right now. We're just waiting here for a few minutes till we get a clean race start for the third level final of the Varsity 8s. So Pennsylvania, the 13th seed coming into this. Cornell was the 12th seed. George Washington and Navy, the 15 and 6th seed. So Pennsylvania with a win here can match their seed. So lane number 2, we have Pennsylvania. Lane number 3, Cornell. Those are the two in the picture right now. It looks like we have cleared out the race course, so we are on for a start here shortly. If you're new to this, you can see the boats just kicking their, every now and then the bow or the 2-seat will touch the bow around to keep a straight line. Sometimes they pass their handle up to the man in front of them to press the bow over more into the wind. But right now we have Cornell throwing their hands in the air for something.
And Navy at the East had a good showing as well. The Varsity did a nice job in the heats. They posted a fast time. They were narrowly edged by a good George Washington crew for a spot in the petite final again at Eastern Sprints. So nice to see them lined up again against each other in lanes 4 and 5. I think that should be a good race.
Well, into this headwind now, some of these coaches have probably made a little bit of adjustments to the rigging. The guys have clams on their oars, which can give them a little change in the leverage as the race lengthens out. We've had some races here taking significantly longer than what these guys are used to. Cornell with a little bit of a steering challenge off the line here. Cornell going a little towards the buoys that we're going to see. Cornell getting into lane 4 just a bit, but that coxswain made a good move, straighten them out, staying in their water. But you can see what a challenge this is for coxswains and crews alike. The Naval Academy guys trying to get out clean, rowing. Whoa, there's a big wave that hit the Navy crew there. George Washington right next to them. One thing about this here today is it's affecting all lanes evenly. It doesn't really look like it's favoring one side to the other. It looks tough for everyone on the race course.
And including the coxswain, Steve, as you rightly say, as a former coxswain, these conditions can be tough to steer. Right now, it looks mostly like a very strong headwind, but add a crosswind into the mix. And as we said, that Cornell coxswain struggled a little bit. That can be tough, especially out of the gates if your point isn't directly on. But for now, we have a race underway. So, Fred, we'll hand it to you on the water.
All right. It's Cornell out front by a couple seats. St. Joe's running right beside them. And then it's very tight. Navy would be in 3rd. St. Joe's in 4th. Then it's over to GW in 5th. And then, let's see here. Let's see, St. Joe's. It looks like St. Joe's is in 5th. So Cornell getting the best of it here. Used to the chop on the Cayuga. They are about 3 or 4 seats up on Pennsylvania. That's what I called incorrectly earlier. So Pennsylvania's in 2nd, not St. Joe's. Navy's in 3rd. Now, if anybody can handle the rough water, it's the middies from the rough water on the Severn. We used to train on this stuff routinely. Cornell has a nice thing going here. They're about 5 or 6 seats up and handling the conditions pretty well. Pretty sloppy though in this middle 5 or second 500. It is very tricky, very tricky indeed. So Pennsylvania just a seat or 2 ahead of Navy, and then it's looks like FIT would be in 4th, GW in 5, and St. Joe 6. Cornell's loving this. They're having fun. They're pushing their hands down and going for it. They've got almost a length now on Pennsylvania. Not quite, 7 or 8 seats. Navy's solidly in third, and they're up on FIT. FIT is still up 3/4 of a length on GW. GW up on St. Joe's. Cornell continues to advance, coming up to the halfway mark. They have just about broken open water now over Pennsylvania, but looks like Navy's trying to come up and challenge Penn for that second spot. We'll bring our launch up just a touch and get a better angle. And it looks like Navy might have second place over Pennsylvania here by a seat or two. Strong winds buffeting all the crews evenly. As Colleen said, it's a direct east headwind and probably pretty tough conditions for these kids. No knuckle busters today. Get your hands on the gunnel. They call it a knuckle buster when your hands get stuck between the gunnel and your oar handle. Cornell really pushing out now, has a quarter length open. Navy and Pennsylvania running side by side, and then it's back another full length to FIT. GW looks like they're being challenged by St. Joe's now. St. Joe's has come up to run almost bow to bow with George Washington. Ratings are probably in the low 30s. Yeah, 34 for Cornell. That's about all you can handle in this slop. Pennsylvania calling it up. With about 550 meters to go, it's a really great race between Penn and Navy. But Cornell has got the best of them as we turn over to the tower with Cornell with open water over Navy and Pennsylvania.
All right, here. So we got Pennsylvania and Navy in that tight battle for second here. Both crews performing well here. So Pennsylvania and the Naval Academy running in that second spot behind open water lead for Cornell. So Cornell, the big red, out in front, handling the conditions as best as anyone in this race here. So there's Pennsylvania and Navy for that second spot. Let's go from the tower view. You can see the red tops of the big red here pressing out here, continuing. You can see the water get better as we go. You hit that last 500. It's still gusty. It's still going to take a little bit of grab at your blade for each oarsman, but not quite as difficult to control at the catch here. You can place and pry and get your body leaning into it a little bit better here in the last 500 meters. So Pennsylvania taking advantage of that little bit calmer wind, and it looks like they're trying to press away from Navy for that second position.
But it is Cornell now coming into the last 250. Cornell with the lead, but the race between Navy and Penn right now, it's Cornell, and it's a race for second in the men's Varsity 8, third final. Cornell right now with the lead. And it looks to be Pennsylvania now over Navy. A really nice push from Navy and Penn in the body of this race. But right now, Cornell is through the line. Very tight racing here for second. But it's Pennsylvania over Navy as Navy comes through in third. And FIT through the line for fourth, followed by St. Joe's in lane 6. And in their final strokes, George Washington. So it's Cornell to win the third level final for the men's Varsity 8.
All right, so Cornell placing 13th overall in the men's Varsity 8 there. We're going to be back up to the start here quick for the men's second Varsity 8 third level final coming up next. We have award ceremonies going on the shore. You can see, folks, we've got great racing still going on, even in these challenging conditions. Everybody has taken the whole year to prepare for these races. And
Stop. We're on hold. All the boats went back to the docks. So nobody's at the start. We're not going to be up to the start. So you might hold on that and say, maybe we'll go and see what. Commercial. All right, here, no, that's a great idea, though, to run the commercial. So if you hang on a sec, let me just run it.
Breathe, guys. We're about to unleash a beast on this next one. Feel it. Feel the rhythm, yes. We're on. Come on. 30. Come on, we got clear water. Flat water. Push yourself. Yes, for everything. Everything anyone ever told you you couldn't do. I want you to do it right here. That's to end down.
Okay, you're back up.
all right, so you can see crews are heading back to the launch area. Crews that were up in the warm-up and at the start line are currently headed back to the launch area. Things have deteriorated up at the start line. You can take a look at the starting platform here, and you can tell there's only launches out there. There's only safety launches out there. It looks like they've removed the stake boat holders from the starting platform now. So we are officially under delay. It's unfortunate, but this is part of safety protocol, making sure that all the rowers, coxswains, athletes, volunteers out there are safe in the water conditions. So things have gotten a little bit too rough. We made it through the Varsity 8 third level final. The next race would be race number 13, the second Varsity 8 third level final, what was supposed to be originally our 840 race. But right now, you can see the crews that have finished up racing are headed back. The third level varsities that finished just now are headed back to the launch area, as well as all the crews that were near the starting platform and finishing their warm-up. They are also headed back to the docks. So we will let you know as soon as we have more information, but the 2018 IRAs, right now we are under delay.
I don't know. That's the thing. Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see the pterodactyl. Oh, now I see 1-4. I just don't have a picture. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go.
This is Colombia. Okay. Let them know.
All right. We have the lightweights from Colombia up on the awards platform now. Congratulations, Colombia. You're national champions in 2018 in the lightweight 8. Coach Nick Lee Parker coming up on stage with his guys. A great row, a great season by Colombia in the lightweight 8s.
Brent, can you give me the upper right-hand corner free? Just, yeah, go a little left with the shot. Or sorry, go right with the shot. In the upper right-hand corner, I've got a little IRA graphic. Perfect, that's good. Yeah, you can lighten it up a step. better than no picture at the moment. If you want, we should give him a microphone on channel 5, and we might get feedback is the problem, but we should give him something on some other channel, bring it in, and then have an interview with him. And then interview some of the guys and say you're out live to the world.
Say you're out loud.
Would you mind giving me a graphic that just says races are delayed?
Okay.
Like down low, maybe. Okay, Stanford lightweight women next. Let's go here. Okay, he's doing a races are delayed graphic, because I'm sure if you're tuning in right now, you're wondering what the hell's going on. And then, yeah, Stanford women, we'll just say, yeah. Yeah, that's what's up. Guys, I'm on it. Don't worry. Ooh, the jugs. Nice jugs.
Nice job.
That's the shot. It's a jug shot.
It's a jug shot.
Okay, we got it. We got it. There it is. The trophies.
You want it up on top?
Down low, one side or the other, and then
Left side.
yeah, I don't care what side.
Okay. Alright. You got it?
Got it. Yeah, and we got a races delayed up now. Feel free to yeah, races delayed in red is really pretty scary.
Just throw the chair.
I could do blue if you want or something.
That's fine. That's fine. Oh, nice. Okay, ready? I'm going to it. All right, you're live, Brent. Yep, I got it. The medals. You want to slowly pan over to that gold medal and then zoom in, what it's all about. Oh, yeah, drama. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to kick back over to the crowd. Recompose. Hey, if you want to get the announcer doing the lightweight women, oh, you had too much feedback. Sorry, I can't do that. Got it.
So many papers. It's like I have so many papers, but there's always one I want. They all serve their purpose.
I don't know. What's the trophy? But is that the trophy for them? All right, we're gonna get them around the trophy. I like it.
Now we're relaxed.
We're composing shots to put up.
What's the name of the trophy? I can do a caption.
All right, I see it. You want me to go to it? They'll go up and be awarded it here in a sec, so it's coming up. I think it's for all events, but right now I'd be happy just with an SB.
I'm still trying to find it.
That's okay.
Okay.
All right. When they come up, I've got a caption for you to say who they are.
Oh, the 10 Ike. Yeah.
So, hey, Eric Dresser says it's hilarious, but so I have closed captioning on, and it's picking up Lily's camera's instructions that aren't on the actual audio. It might not be Will, but whoever. It's hilarious. I'm guessing it might be you.
Okay, here you go. You're up.
So he's saying he's hearing like camera and stuff. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
this is what Eric's Dresser's getting this on closed captioning. It's picking up you.
On the closed
The closed captioning.
Oh, hey, by the way, closed captioning picks up what we say for some reason.
Yeah.
And I have no idea why that would be.
Eric says it's hilarious.
Drone.
I'm sure not most people have closed captioning on, but he probably has a kid still
So
sleeping.
to Eric, to you out there, nice job. To anyone watching through closed captioning, we had no idea how closed captioning works in YouTube and why and how this is getting through the broadcast. It shouldn't be getting through the broadcast. Okay, 2Vs. Second varsity. Graphic for a second varsity 8. Who won that? Men's 2v8, was that Washington? Right? 2v8 was just men's second varsity 8. You don't have to put just the race title's fine. Oh, it's Yale? Yale won the 2v8?
No,
What is this?
this might just be.
Oh, bronze? So all we want is men's 2v8. That's all we want. Thanks. Okay, got it up. Second varsity 8.
Should I move that to the lower left? Put it on the left side? Better because there's nothing over there.
Yeah, I suppose. But we don't need to do it just yet.
Do you want any audio or just?
No, just pretty pictures is fine. How would it pick that up? How the hell is that getting into the system?
Yeah, that's a little odd.
Well, you said you didn't know how the audio was getting into the thing.
No, I do now. The audio now is coming from channel 5 in through here. We're speaking on channel 6.
Huh.
Is there a launch camera on that's picking me up? No. Yeah, you're free. I'm back on the finish. Second varsity 8 for the Cal men are next. So we keep the second varsity up.
It's not just closed caption, they can hear us. That's what Judge Titus just texted.
Apparently they can still, everybody can hear everything, which is odd.
All right, Cal Berkeley, silver medalist in the men's second varsity 8 from the grand final. So I'll just go through the times here of the second varsity 8. Washington was your winner, 6:23.4, and California, 6:25.4. Yale in bronze, 6:31.0. So here's California in the second varsity 8, silver medalist.
We'll put the ad up next. Then you can interview. So apparently the broadcast can hear everything we're saying. Everything that everybody says on any channel, anytime, anywhere, they can hear. So to those of you who are listening to the broadcast, we don't know how this is happening because the audio is off.
All right, congratulations. So congratulations, University of California, silver medalist in the men's second varsity 8.
It must be coming in through here, maybe? I don't know. All right, here are your winners. You can go back to the 2v8.
Oh, it's another second varsity.
Yeah, yeah. We've been doing the 2v8 the whole time.
All right, University of Washington, winners of the Kennedy Cup 2018. The Huskies from the University of Washington, Kennedy Cup champions 2018.
I'm gonna go to the commercial after this. Nah, but I gotta finish after this. Here's the thing, right? It was happening when Audio Box was off. And we were going just talking on number 6 to you about getting the little position on the medals. Yeah, yeah. Let's show you the screenshot that the closed caption has the awesomeness.
Breathe, guys. We're about to unleash a beast on this next one. Feel it. Feel the rhythm, yes. We're on. Come on. 30. Come on, we got clear water. Flat water. Push yourself. Yes, for everything. Everything anyone ever told you you couldn't do. I want you to do it right here. That's you, and down.
All right, Stanford University, women's lightweight 8 national champions. The women's lightweight 8 from Stanford with a great race this morning. Your lightweight 8 varsity champions, Stanford University.
You want me to say something out here? Good shot of the champions of the lightweight varsity 8, Stanford University.
All right, so Stanford was your winners in 7:12.37 seconds ahead of Boston University, 7:17.6, and Princeton, 7:20.54. Those were your three medalists in women's lightweight 8 national championship. All right, congratulations, Stanford.
Okay, roger that. And given the weather forecast for the rest of the day, I don't see this thing calming down. But I guess, I mean, we do have until, what, scheduled till 2 o'clock, so, I mean, I guess they could hold it and then race the last hour and a half. Cal Men 8s. Do you know who this is for, like what the event is, Brent? 3v8, 3v8, copy that. Third varsity. Yeah, go, yeah.
All right, so here is the men's third varsity 8 from California. Bronze medalist from California in the men's third varsity 8. California in a time of 6:42.5. Harvard was silver in 6:37.2. And Washington, your winner, in 6:33.5. So here are the men from the California third varsity 8 receiving their medals at the 2018 IRA National Championships. right, we have the silver medalist from Harvard. It's the silver medalist in the men's third varsity 8. Harvard was second behind Washington, time of 6:37.2. So congratulations, Harvard University, silver medalist in the men's third varsity 8.
Nobody said that it's too loud, and trust me, people would complain. If there's a way, too loud, too quiet, too loud, too quiet. I hope, but I mean, that's we'll usually hear it, so we haven't heard anything. We have to assume that we're okay. Yeah, it happens. A hot mic, and that's the thing. They were though. It's true. I was just if people's mind are in the gutter, then they have a problem. Can't help that. Some hardware. And to be, we've never done this shit before. We've never done like actual show production.
Grand final. The Huskies from the University of Washington, the third varsity 8 champions in the Stewards Cup. Washington 633.5. So University of Washington, your third varsity 8 Stewards Cup champions for 2018. All right, congratulations, University of Washington Stewards Cup champions.
Lightweight women's lightweight 8. Yep. Apparently, who's next? Silver medalists. Or something to that effect. It's lightweight 8. Women's lightweight 8. Thanks. Yeah.
Silver medalist in the women's lightweight 8, Boston University. Silver medalist, women's lightweight 8, Boston University, 717.6.
Okay, we gotta trace down this whole hotline problem then because we can't run a show like it's
right, Princeton coming in third, the bronze medalist in the women's lightweight 8 event. Princeton University, a time of 7:20.54. Princeton was the bronze medalist behind Boston University in 7:17.6 and Stanford, your winners of the Camden County Freeholders Trophy for women's lightweight 8. Princeton, bronze medalist. Congratulations, Princeton University. right, so coming to the stage now, the team trophy, the James Tenike Trophy for overall heavyweight men's points trophy. University of Washington, your 10 champion for 2018. Washington accumulating 211 points. Yale coming in second with 199, and California at 196. So the James Tenike Trophy for overall heavyweight performance. The University of Washington 2018 Tenike Trophy. All right, racing is still under delay from the wind conditions at the start line. Still too tough for racing to commence. But we want to thank everyone for coming today. True Rowing, our sponsor of the 2018 IRA National Championships. Chris Groot and the PNRA rowing staff here locally coordinating all efforts to put on this fantastic 2018 IRA. Thank you to the U.S. rowing staff and officials and volunteers for all of their hard work throughout the weekend. The U.S. rowing officials keeping the crew safe, keeping all races running very smoothly. The Mercer County Park staff, thank you for operating this park and allowing this race to be commenced here at the Mercer Lake County Park. And thank you finally to the IRA staff and volunteers for putting on a great regatta here at Mercer Lake in 2018. Again, we'll be back shortly with letting you know how racing will commence and if it will commence later.
Either or. Your call. Both are acceptable. 1L or 2L.
All right, folks, so we have official announcement from the IRA. Racing for the remainder of the regatta has been canceled. So the regatta is officially canceled for the remainder of the day. Thank you so much for coming out, for tuning in, and we will see you next year at the IRA National Championships.
finally don't have audio. Yeah, you need to press the button, sorry.
All right, one final announcement of the regatta, cancellation of the 2018 IRA National Championships. Thank you for coming out to Mercer Park here. We will see you next year at the 2019 IRA National Championships.